my camera, my video on my phone said storage full, and it had a little extra something there, and I touched it, and it stopped recording, and I didn't know it. I was going on working this phone on down, and shoot, I wasn't even recording. And I looked up to show you this crazy spot that's obsidian. This is solid. You can see through this, but you can't this. It's a dull, flat back color. I don't know if y'all can see that through there or not, but that's weird looking. And I was telling a story about fishing, and so I didn't get to finish that story because I finished it working on this one. So anyway, I'll finish it. My son-in-law and his friend, they were fishing, and we decided to leave. And I told my son, I said, I'm gonna get between these 3 willow trees and get out of the boat, and you call them and you get them come over here, and I'm gonna swim up under their boat and grab it and scare them. And he said, okay. And I said, now they're gonna ask you where I'm at, and you tell them you took me to the bank, my back was hurting, and I sent you to find them. And they had to back to us, and they just were fishing in that brush there with spinnerbaits. They were still catching fish. And I swam out there and got between them 3 trees, and I think I'm gonna take this out of there. I don't know if it's gonna hold. I might be wasting my time. It might fall apart. But anyway, I signaled for him to give him a signal to holler at him. He said, hey, Ken. He said, yeah. He said, where's your dad at? He said, I took him to the bank, his back was hurting. Y'all ready to go? He said, yeah, y'all caught any fish? He said, yeah, me and Daddy caught the limit. Threw a lot back, we caught some. We got a big mess of fish. He said, we have too, the same thing here. And he said, well, we'll see you at the bank. And he said, man, he said, I got to do something. He's sitting there thinking to get him to come over here. And he said, hey, y'all come over here. It's the biggest dadgum snake I've seen in my life, dead floating in this water. Y'all ain't gonna believe how big he is. And they said, we'll be right there. So he paddled over to those trees where I was at and pointing about 10 yards from where I was at. And when they come by, I got behind one of them big trees where they couldn't see me. And as they went by, I got a good look at the front of that boat where the trolling motor was, and I got me a deep breath, and I went underwater, and I held my hands up in there, and I could feel that boat sliding through my hands. And when it got to the end of it, I felt them that had a handle on the end of it, and I grabbed that handle and pulled myself up out of that water, and I was like that. My brother-in-law went up the back of the other guy. The other guy was sitting down, and before he could get up, my brother-in-law had both legs over his shoulders, screaming and hollering, and they turned the boat almost over. All the tackle boxes went out, all the rod and reels, and everything went in the lake. I was able to hold the boat, keep it from turning over, or it would have turned over. If it was a pontoon boat, maybe not. But I believe it would have turned over. I don't know if you turn them over, but it would have been interesting to know. But anyway, I held it. And you talking about some guys mad at somebody. Man, they were so mad at me. But I was able to retrieve everything because it wasn't about 5 foot deep right there, and the top of them rod and reels was sticking up. They were heavy at the bottom, and they were just standing up, and the tackle box was floating, and so was the ice chest. And fortunately, the tackle box was closed. They didn't lose any bait. So they closed it up because they're heading to the bank. And I got everything, and man, they were so mad. And I said, and my son said, I never seen anybody so scared. He said, we had this big old alligator following us the whole time. And they had a big old alligator following around. And the lake was full of alligators. I didn't tell them that. And me and my friend that's a member of the club, my other friend, we fished it all the time. And we had this alligator following us around the year before. And was like 15 yards of the boat. And he was a big one. And I said, I'm going to throw him a fish. And I got a fish out of there and threw it straight at him. When it hit the water, he got that fish. It was a bass, about a 2-pound bass. And I couldn't believe it. And he come back up and he just stayed there. We fed him 3 or 4 fish. And he followed us everywhere we went. So next time we fishing, there's this big alligator. We don't know if it's the same one. They all look alike. He was about the same size, but he was following us. And eventually, after we caught a bunch of fish, and boy, he'd hear them splashing on that rod reel. You catch one, you know how they splash, and he'd get closer and closer, like he's trying to grab them before we land them. And anyway, after we knew we had a mess, and we took some of the little ones and threw to him and fed him. Boy, it was unbelievable. From then on, that alligator followed you fishing. I guess that's the one that was following them, because they said he was like trying to get the fish. They didn't know that story. So anyway, they were pretty upset. And so I'm in a hurry to get home. I need to cut some grass and stuff. And it's about 11 o'clock. It's done got hot. And so when we get to we'll keep the boats at the landing, whatever you want to call it. I grabbed that battery. It was the heaviest thing. Then I grabbed the trolling motor and I took off. And they took some stuff out of the boat. They were still unloading tackle boxes and other things like that out of the boat. And I was way ahead of them. And I just dropped it right there at the creek bank on the bank there. And I ran back. And the reason I run back, I left part of the story out, the main part, as I was going to the bank. I looked out there about 5 yards from the trail, and I never seen dirt turned up like that. And I said, my gosh, I said, something had dug a monster hole in that ground. And I just walked over, looked at the hole, and it was daggum yellow jackets come out of there. And I got popped twice. And I was running through there trying to get away from them. Well, the woods was crooked and they couldn't see me. They didn't know what was going on. That road was just as crooked as it could be. And it was in the spring, and leaves on the trees. And so I get up there where they at, and I didn't say nothing about getting stung. I didn't even mention that word. Yellow jackets and nothing. And so I'm helping them carry the boat. And everybody got an armload of stuff. And we're getting close to that place. And I said, y'all ain't gonna believe this. I said, daggum armadillo dug a hole up here. When he dug that hole, he got stuck in it. I said, I don't know if it was some roots, and he got his feet tangled up in them and couldn't get out. But half of his butt sticking out of that hole. And I said, it's the funniest thing you ever seen. And he said, we won't see that. We went around that curve, and all that sand was piled up about 2 foot high. I said, right there. And I grabbed my son and winked at him, and he just knew I was holding on to him not to go, and they didn't see that. And they took off, and both of them stuck their head down. They got way closer than I did. And them yellow jackets eat their butt up, man. And then I felt bad about it. I didn't know they was going to get stung. I figured maybe they would see them or get popped once or twice like I did. And they were running to us, and it was just a pile of them coming towards us. And they got to where we were getting stung. So we all had to run out in the woods. And we went a pretty good ways before they left us alone. Then we had to ease back up there and get the boat and all that stuff and pack it back out. Excuse me, but you talking about 2 grown men mad. I never seen 2 grown men that mad. And I really believe if they thought they could have whooped my butt, they'd have jumped on me. That's how mad they were. I mean, it was... And I don't blame them. I'd been mad too. My brother-in-law doesn't see me do a lot of fighting and stuff. And I think that other guy was pretty sure he didn't want to fool with me. Back here. I can't kick ankles today with that long butt. But anyway, that was a story and a half there. This piece of obsidian's got that streak of, it's just dull. There's no shine or nothing right through there. And it leaves a like a hinge. You can't flake through it. I don't want to flake through it. So I don't know what I'm gonna do here. I think I'm gonna come this way and try to get an overshot and get under it. What the seam is, it goes all the way through it. I can't get under it, but where the crack is, the seam. Let's see if I can get it to come off. It didn't go further enough. If it wasn't further enough, it would have worked. If it did go into it, it went into it about halfway. I don't know what to do. If I pressure flake it, I ain't strong enough to push through that. I can't hardly pressure flake no more. I'm weak in my shoulders and arms from arthritis. But but the good Lord paid me back on that joke I pulled on. About 2 years later, we were hog hunting in the swamp on horses. And we were riding through and got some pretty mucky stuff, muddy stuff, real mushy. And we were between two trees, just did have room to get through the trees. You could just touch it with your hands, the sides of them. And his horse was probably 3 feet in front of me, and his horse stumbled and went down to his knees. And he stayed on it. And my horse just about run his nose up in his horse's butt when he come up. And I couldn't hold my horse. He was trying to get out of the way of the other horse, so he was covered up. My horse kind of jumps up backwards like, and kind of reared up a little bit. And when about that time it hit me. And I have never been stung so many times in my life. I'm telling you, yellow jackets covered me, and my horse couldn't move. There wasn't no place for him to go. And they just covered him, and they covered me. And I got stung over 300 times. And my horse, took my foot out of the saddle and swinging over to jump off. And he bucked about that time and turned me a flip in midair, and it knocked me unconscious when I hit the ground. And the guys that was behind me said the yellow jacket just went right over me because I wasn't moving, and they were chasing my horse. Well, when they finally caught him, he tore the bridle up, and one of my stirrups on the saddle was tore up, and he had yellow jackets in his nose and his ears and everything. So I got on him, and we rode him out of there, and I was hurting so bad, and I was about an hour from the hospital once I got out of there. And I told them, I said, y'all gotta get me to the hospital. And they were doing everything we could. But man, you talking about sick. I had diarrhea, I couldn't control it on that horse. And it was amazing. And I stayed in the hospital, I don't know, probably, I think they kept me overnight. I'm not sure, I've been in the hospital so many times. But I stayed in there a pretty good while. And boy, oh boy, I got paid back. What goes around comes around. That's all I'm going to do with this one. I'm going to do another video, it'll be part 2, and I'll pressure flake them and do some more stuff and finish them out.